Well, as the violence continues, the United Nations says food aid for rebel-held East Aleppo will soon expire. It's been stalled at the Turkish border since last week when a convoy was hit by airstrikes. The attack effectively ended a week-long ceasefire in the country. Let's take a look back at the deal. Well, the ceasefire brokered by the US and Russia began on September the 12th, but many people were skeptical that it would last. 7 days later, the Syrian military declared the truce was over. On the same day, airstrikes hit an aid convoy near Aleppo. 12 aid workers were killed, and 20 trucks carrying humanitarian supplies were destroyed. A day later, the UN suspended the delivery of aid across Syria. On Thursday, the UN announced aid convoys would resume as soon as possible, with the exception of rebel-held Aleppo. Let's go straight to Alican Ayanlar, who is live for us in Gaziantep, near the Turkey-Syria border. Alican, firstly, can you bring us up to date in terms of the fighting? What's going on?
Well, in terms of the fighting, we've just heard from the Syrian military that they've announced a new intense military campaign against in the city of Aleppo. Now, we don't know what this exactly entails, and this is important, whether ground troops will be used in this intensified campaign or not. But from what we understand, it means at the least that we're going to see an intensifying of this air campaign against rebel-held positions and neighborhoods and districts of eastern Aleppo. The media arm of the Assad regime did say that they urged all citizens in Aleppo to stay away from, quote, rebel and terrorist positions, areas in the city, and that they would be opening up exit points and corridors for rebels, terrorists, and civilians who wanted to leave should they choose that option. Now, the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, based in the United Kingdom, has reported that the city has come under the most intense air campaign attack in recent months. They're reporting that warplanes and helicopters are dropping barrel bombs as well as using rockets, as well as heavy machinery against civilians in eastern parts of Aleppo. Some activists on the ground are even stating that the Assad regime may have even used phosphorus in these attacks. Now, that aside, we're also hearing word from the Russians, from the Foreign Ministry, that the Russian Navy will be sending its largest ship in its fleet, its only aircraft carrier, to the eastern part of the Mediterranean to aid its operations in Syria. Now, both these developments, with the Assad regime saying that they're going to intensify their military campaign in Aleppo and the Russians sending their aircraft carrier to the eastern Mediterranean, this comes just days after the U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry urged all members of the UN Security Council to stop flights over conflict zones, especially Aleppo. At the time, he may have been trying to find a way to prevent another attack like we saw on Monday against that interagency aid convoy, in which 18 trucks were destroyed and 21 civilians were killed. But now it looks like both these developments are in complete defiance against John Kerry's wishes.
Alican, I also wonder what this renewed fighting is going to mean in terms of aid delivery, because we did hear from the UN yesterday afternoon saying that they are planning on starting aid distribution today, but it sounds like the fighting is in full swing.
Well, yes, we can confirm that the United Nations was able to deliver aid to about 35,000 residents of a suburb of the capital of Damascus. Obviously, this comes after a very worrisome time on Monday night, that attack against that aid convoy. A lot of agencies, including the United Nations and the ICRC, the International Confederation of Red Crosses, said that they were halting most of their operations in conflict zones pending an investigation of the situation, as well as they needed the necessary security guarantees. But the United Nations has confirmed that they have delivered aid to this Damascus suburb, and they will continue today in cities like Al-Wa'ar and Zabadani and Madaya. So it looks like things, for the time being, are on track in terms of this aid delivery.
Okay, Alican, many thanks for that. Alican Ayanlar there for us in Gaziantep.